Cancer, welcome to your weekly tarot reading from June 4th through the 10th. I'm Raina, and I think I'm going to do with you what I just did with Scorpio. I'm shuffling the cards right now, but I'm going to put them in little piles of, I think I need 8. I thought I have 7 positions, but I'm going to put 8 little piles, or is that 7? Well, okay. And then I'm just going to pick the bottom card for each pile, for each position. I got the same one for Scorpio for the exact same position. This is Heart of the Matter. And then I'm going to take the pile and put it to the side. And what crosses you? It doesn't matter whether I pick it upright or not. It's whatever the challenge position is. It's a challenge position. So this is the foundation card. 2 of Swords. Let me put this to the side. This is the spiritual message. I think I got that in the same position for another sign. This is the practical advice. Okay. This is the Wild Unknown Tarot deck, by the way. I forgot to say that. Okay, this time I did have an extra pile, so, oh well, doesn't matter. This is what's coming in. And I'll pick this bottom pile. The outcome, yay. I like the Magician. I'll put this off to the side. I like this method because I'm picking cards that I don't normally pick. So maybe it's a good way to get some new, fresh energy into this. And so the Heart of the Matter is the 5 of Pentacles. You can tell, even if you didn't know what the different cards represent, that this kind of gives a, negative connotation. The 5 of Pentacles is a card of lack consciousness. I don't know particularly why they use the rose, because Pentacles obviously connect to material concerns first and foremost. And so this can be either losing a job. Of course, remember that we're talking about something that's happening right now. So it's not that you're going to lose your job. It's going to be that you're already coping with the after effects of that. Or a fear of not having enough. Now, this can happen if you have a lot of money in the bank. For Cancers, a lot of times this is something that motivates you, but it's not necessarily a good thing when you are narrowing your life too much and afraid of calamity too much, because then you start to get desperate and you feel like, oh, I have to stay at this job. I don't like it and I'm not being treated well, but I have to stay here because what if I quit and I could never find a job again? And then I'm out on the street. And actually, in the Rider-Waite Pamela Coleman illustration, they show 2 people in rags on the street, but actually in the background is a stained glass window that is suggesting that it's a church, and they are like, their heads are bowed so they can't see it. I wish I had the the card in front of me. I'd show it to you. And so it's showing kind of turning your back on the spiritual because you're so obsessed with the material. So really, this has nothing to do per se with your financial status. This is just maybe your mindset about something. And how it connects to relationships is the same lack consciousness. I'm over 40. I better stick with this abusive partner, this alcoholic partner, this womanizing partner, because I don't have, you know, what if nobody ever wanted to be with me? You know, something is better than nothing. No, not really. So this is the challenge position. This is the Ten of Wands. I always have to check because I'm not sure sometimes. And I did make a mistake before, and some people asked me about it when I did this, use these cards before. The Ten of Wands is a card of carrying a heavy burden, I would say, and in the challenge position, this is something that I think Cancer people have a tendency to do, is to be an enabler, be somebody who tries to make other people happy. You could call it a people pleaser, but it's for Cancer, it really is to get that feeling of being loved and being accepted. And I mean, there could be a real visceral kind of a desire for that at a very core level. So even in the workplace, taking on the responsibility that belongs to somebody else. Oh yeah, again, this could be like due to fear-based thinking. Oh, the boss wants me to do the work of 2 people. I'm going to do it because I'm afraid of losing my job. And meanwhile, this is also a card of burnout if you're not careful. So it's like taking on it's not your responsibility. And the same thing in relationships, taking on what isn't your responsibility and risking potential problems. And even if you're doing the work of 2 people and you don't burn out, it's not fair. It's not balanced. It's not honoring yourself. So you're going to probably not feel a sense of alignment when you're in that position. At the heart of this situation is the Two of Swords. So there may be this sense that you are, I mean, maybe this is a person who's a Libra, air sign, or Gemini or Aquarius. I said Libra because I think that might be the air sign out of all 3 of those that you would most likely be with. But in any case, this could be a decision that you have to make. And perhaps you tried to make something work that was one-sided, that you were the only one putting any effort into. I'm talking about a personal relationship. And maybe you know that you need to get a new job, but you're scared. And no one can convince you of that. You have to learn how to trust in the universe. And also use the natural intuition that you have. Water signs are naturally intuitive. We all have natural intuition. When I say natural, and I talk about water signs, I'm saying that it's almost more upfront. Because you're a water sign, you kind of live life through the emotions anyway. So it's easier for you to access intuition just because you're sensing things rather than thinking logically about them. And that's where the intuition lies. The intuition doesn't lie in the rational mind. Because the rational mind needs facts and they need proof. It needs proof. And the intuition isn't about facts and isn't about proof. I always roll my eyes when I see comments online and people say, well, where's the proof of that? Well, you know, if that's what you're waiting for all the time about proof, you're going to wait a long time when it comes to spiritual matters. And then you're going to say, well, I don't believe in God then, or I don't believe there's anything beyond the physical. Okay, well, good luck with that. I hope that, you know, I hope you can navigate life successfully by just believing in the flesh. The spiritual message is represented by the Two of Pentacles. Now, as I told the other sign, whoever it was that I got this card for, what this could mean on the spiritual level is that if you're feeling trapped in a job that you don't like, but you really do need to pay bills, maybe you don't have a lot of savings, but it's really sucking the life out of you. Think about, and you don't have any other job prospects. I mean, unless you just start applying for other jobs or take a job, like a part-time job, in addition to what you have. But the other thing that you could do too is you could start your own business, and you could do it very modestly. If you have like a specific thing in mind that you think could work. I'm not talking about doing something if you had no inclination to do it and you don't really want to do it. I'm talking about if you've always wanted to, but something has always held you back, just start figuring out how you can do it on a very small scale while you continue to work where you are. And just by doing something that is kind of getting you out of that hole, you will automatically feel better and everything will probably improve in your life. One of the reasons why I think so many people feel terrible when they're in a place that they don't like is because if they're not actively seeking to change that situation, they feel stuck and they don't like where they're at. So, I mean, that feeling of being stuck is a very real feeling, and it is very uncomfortable because it can be unpleasant, okay? So that's one possibility. Or simply actively looking for a new job, and not, you're still working where you're working, you could still say no. But I think this card is more than just looking for a new job. It's actually talking about two things at once. There are two pentacles. Pentacles typically are related to practical matters like your work or your income streams. So having more than one income stream can mean that you're never left high and dry, if that's something that keeps you up at night. And it makes you less vulnerable to any kind of implied threats at work that have to do with people trying to manipulate you, get you to do more and not make as much money, and blah, 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 those kinds of things. So it's basically about keeping your options open, having more options in life. In terms of relationships, it can be that somebody is trying to have their cake and eat it too. And maybe that is something you are aware of, and yet you don't want to let go of that individual. Well, that person may simply be so conflicted within themselves that they can't make that decision. That's why I think, again, of a Libra person who has a hard time making choices. But if that is, if the activity, the infidelity is bad, what's even worse is somebody who, when they're caught being unfaithful, then they tell you they can't decide. And so they leave you hanging out even more. And really, that's your choice. If you choose to be involved with somebody like that and put yourself through that, that's on you. The practical advice is represented by the Eight of Wands. And this is, I think this is, it's interesting. I want to see, because this can be a card of things coming suddenly, like a lot of activity occurring all of a sudden, and you have to think on your feet and act very quickly. But I want to see if this can deal with you initiating anything. Well, one thing that it can be is good news. And you may feel this sense of wanting to start new things. And you may feel enthusiastic about that. So if this is related to the Two of Pentacles, you may be starting a new business. And of course, in July, you are going to have a solar eclipse in your sign, which is a very powerful new moon, during your solar return. However, it is at a time when Mars is retrograding. So whether or not that is a good time to start things is another story. Definitely at the beginning of June, we have a new moon in Gemini on June 13th. These kinds of times can be good. That will be in your 12th house. So that's kind of like a quiet area, and it might be good for new beginnings with meditation and other practices that involve you and what you're doing internally to elevate your consciousness. But this is more, with the Eight of Wands, we're talking more about outward endeavors, things that are happening out in the world and that you may be gung-ho about. So it may not be actual advice, it's just saying that things are going to break. If you feel like you're at an impasse, because this could be a card of being in an impasse in your life, and you can't make a decision or another person can't make a decision, something may come out all of a sudden to break everything wide open. And then you're going to have to think on your feet, Cancer. You're not going to be able to sit back any longer. So it's good right now, if you're feeling like stuck, to think about what you would like to do if you had the guts to do it. And who knows, maybe something will come that you do not initiate that will allow you to make those changes without having to do it yourself if you're afraid to take the action. What's coming in is represented by the High Priestess. This is a spiritual card. Again, I said there's that new moon in your 12th house coming up next week. I mean, the week after this. And when the sun is in Gemini, that is your 12th house. So you already have this influence of the spiritual life, of going within. And that's just where you're at right now. It's not, things are not necessarily progressing on a very active level because this is the month before your solar return, or except for those of you born at the end of June, obviously. The outcome is the Magician. So this is a card of self-empowerment. It's number one. So it's thinking about number one, thinking about yourself, what you need, and how you can get there. Remember that I started the reading with the Five of Pentacles, which is probably the opposite of the Magician card as you can get, which is a card of disempowerment, of negative thinking. And then I get the Magician, which is you being very able and willing to take what you have right now and make the best of it. And Cancer people are cardinal signs, they're initiators. And the only thing that is standing in your way is this fear of not being able to have financial security. And so that's okay. You don't have to invest a lot in something that you're trying to get off the ground. You can do something very small, modest, but meanwhile still working in the direction of your dreams, so that you don't feel like wherever you're at is the only place that you can be. And This is actually very positive how this is ending, and even in relationships. The Magician card is saying I can attract the person who is right for me. I don't have to settle for less. I don't care how old I am. I don't care what my status is. I can have that. I just have to honor myself enough to not accept less than what I deserve. Okay, Cancer, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you'd like a private reading, the link to my website is below. Take care. Bye.